Hello, everyone, and today we have another interview with a very special guest called Chloe Webb. How are you? How's your day going?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We had a good day so far. So yeah, it's always a bonus.
That's good, and you're a very special guest because we've been speaking, you and my mum and our family, for a long, long time now, and thank you for coming on for this interview. I know you're a very busy person, but I just felt this was the right interview to do because I just think that with the work that you do and the fact that you were around during the earlier stages in my life, how I developed. I think it's important to me that I did this interview. So first of all, I'd
Oh,
just like to say a massive thank you to you because you're just an amazing person. I look up to you, and I have for a long time now. So yeah, thank you.
so Nick, that's so funny because I'm totally in awe of speaking to you because you're like a mini legend, and now you've gone to like a medium-sized legend. So thanks for having me on. But honestly, it's just you really are super special. The things you do and how kind of you keep moving and changing. So yeah, I'm honoured to be speaking to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it means a lot. And no, I just really wanted to hear it from you. You do a lot, with the arts and craft. You have a clothing and accessories brand. So I'd just like to know, how did you get to where you are now? How I would love to know about your inspiring journey and what influenced you to become who you are today.
So probably about 10 years ago now, I went through a bit of a rubbish time and I got a bit of a headspace that wasn't healthy for me. And I wasn't really sure how to react to that because I was a mother, I had two small kids. Um, I felt guilty because the things I had in life as material things were great, but I
Mm,
just couldn't find any path to follow. I felt totally lost. Um, and it was a really awful feeling actually. And I'd never felt that way before. And I just wasn't sure who to turn to, what organizations could help. And also, did I need any help? The questions were just all out there. And the more I questioned everything, the worse it became. I just was totally isolating myself and not being able to see anything good in anything that I was doing. So it was literally a chance meeting with somebody in a coffee shop who is Joe, my business partner, who we started Smith Webb in. She was just so sweet, and she was teaching Pilates at the time. I was a single mum by then because we just separated, my partner and I, and she kind of gave me hope of what to do. So she helped me train. I became a Pilates instructor. Suddenly I became independent. I had my own life again. I think when you have children, you kind of lose your identity and it's quite hard to find out where you want to go. So I suddenly had my own life again. And I just said to her, if it hadn't have been for your kindness, that conversation we had, just chatting, that's changed my whole life going forward. And she said, you know what, actually, it was the same for her because she hadn't said, but she was going through a tough time. And I just said, you know what, people shouldn't feel like this. People should have a place they can talk or recognize. And small steps to take that if you are feeling that way, you can get out of the slump, because it doesn't, so many people talk about medicating and all this, and it doesn't necessarily mean medicating. You just need to get out of the slump that you're in. You just need to have that power of kindness just to move on and to help you. And that was exactly what we had. We found each other and each other helped one another going forward. And it was just a nice thing that came together. And then we discussed doing a fashion label because we both taught Pilates and we would like to help other people. So to kind of like create our own community. So listen, we're not psychologists or anything like that, but I don't think you need to be to create a community where if people want to ask each other questions, it was just a nice, safe platform. That's what was needed. So that's where Smith Webb was born. And then we created, with our tiny budget we created one jumper. And I remember saying to Joe, we've got to print a minimum order of this. So I hope the sample's good because we don't have the money to do it. And then we printed this one jumper. And as luck had it, someone super famous wore it, Holly. And we went from no followers to like 1 million followers overnight. Well, not quite 1 million, I think 4,000, but we were blown away. And then the message just continued. So we didn't know her. She wore it out the kindness of her own heart, and it just carried a message that meant so much to us. And from there, it kind of just escalated. Yeah, that was kind of the journey. And then we just carry it on. We just think there couldn't have been a better message to pass on to people. And the one thing I remember when I was feeling rubbish, you know, my kids had gone on a play day, and one of the mums said, "Oh, he's such a kind kid." And I was literally in tears driving home, because I thought, do you know what? That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what you have, where you're from, but if you can just share a bit of kindness, that can make the difference to somebody's day. So yeah, that was pretty long-winded because I love to talk, but
No, it's fine. Yeah.
there's a point in there somewhere, Nick. Basically, I was having a rubbish time. Someone was kind to me, and it changed my world. So,
and I think you know, when you do go through that patch, you know, I've experienced that, probably not, you know, to the caliber of some people, but I think there's like an occurring theme when someone goes through, you know, like a rough patch in their life. They need someone to be there with them to help. You can't go through.
absolutely.
You need to have that, like, that support, and you know, that, you know, safe space. And I think what you did, you know, with, you know, the limited resources you had, you know, back then when you started, I think it was just great, you know, to, you know, find a safe space to talk. And I think that's something as
And that's how we try and continue. So we try and introduce people that we think are amazing. So like, we'll always share your page to our followers, or I think it's about the people that we find really helpful as well. So there's an organisation called We Are Hummingbird that just do amazing things. And it's not always the bigger charities, but introducing people that could just help that one person is huge, because they might not see that organisation otherwise. So that's how we like to use the platform now, to introduce good things. We don't like to be, you know, just typical Instagrammers. We like to have kind of the true transparency and belief in who we are and what we do and the people we follow. So yeah, we hope it's genuine and comes across as that.
Exactly, yeah, 100% comes out genuine. And I think, you know, when you come from, you know, backgrounds where you sort of experience, you know, hardships yourself, I think it becomes more of, you know, like a deeper and passionate cause. And I think it really does help in the thing you're trying to, you know, because like sort of our pain is someone's gain. And I think, you know, it sort of helps if you've gone through, you know, some sort of hardship, because then you can realize.
Yeah, and I understand it. It's all relevant to the person as well, because, you know, I'm sure there's people out there have a tougher time, but if everyone comes together and helps each other, it doesn't matter at that time. That might be huge to one person. So you can't really put it on a scale of how terrible someone's life is. It just has to be supportive. And that's what we found going forward, and understanding mental health better than we did. Like, we took the mental health first aid course, and I think actually it's educated us more than anything, because there's so much we didn't understand. And I think mental health scares people so much they don't discuss it, or there's this whole thing, it's good to talk, but to the wrong person it's not good to talk, because you might be mocked and they might show, you know, they don't really want to be part of it, then you feel embarrassed. So I think educating everyone on what to say, how to speak, and how to recognize how you're feeling, so preventative. You know, you might just feel a bit anxious for a reason. Like, anxiety is a natural reaction, but if you leave yourself in that position for too long, then it becomes something bigger. So it's good to show people there's like preventative measures before you feel that way, or recognizing it. And that's what we're huge with, kind of trying to promote. And also, if you go through to like the kindness thing with kids, I think we started it because I don't know, Instagrams can be quite a tough place. It's all cool to be kind of tough and hard, isn't it? And we're like, why don't we flip this? Like, why don't we encourage kids from a small age just to kind of have each other's back if a kid's being bullied? Like, you want to be on the cool kid side because it's easier for you. But if one person just makes a bit of a difference, it just stops that kid having a really bad day. So it's the power of the small, kind of those small steps that have a massive change to everyone's life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, before this interview, you know, I looked back at the shirt you gave me, you know, like, I think quite a bit time ago now. And I was just looking like how small I was back then. You know, if I tried to put it on now, I'd probably tear apart. But it just shows, like, you know, the age that you're trying to target. You know, it's such a. I remember when I first put it on back then. I still have those memories, and it was just amazing to just have that feeling, a sense, you know, that you're promoting kindness. Because back then, I think, you know, I had a different outlook onto the world. That is, you know, I just wanted to be kind, and I wanted to spread kindness, because, you know, I wasn't really at school having the best time back then.
Yeah.
But I think, the work that you did, it really does help. And, going back on what you said, like not all people are necessarily going to be kind. I think that's the problem with, like the internet. I think it's such an amazing place, explore, meet new people, know how you can, branch out and help yourself. But there's also another side of the internet that can also have like a very bad negative effect. And I think slowly but surely we're getting rid of that negative side. And I think the internet's becoming a safer place. Well, I hope it is, but I think it is becoming more of an awareness now that, people do need help with mental health and, the amazing work that you do. And, going on to also, you do a lot of t-shirts and accessories, you advocate for the environment as well, and you do so much. So I would just like to know a bit more about, did you ever think that you would achieve as much as you have when you first started out?
I think it's all kind of you do well and then you have your blips. I think it's all about adapting, because there's times when you're like, oh, should we just stop? You get people saying, oh, it's so, or we've been copied so many times. I'm not going to say we invented slogan t-shirts or the word be kind, because we didn't. But when we launched back in 2017, no one else was doing it. Now you have like so many big retailers and we just can't compete with them, Nick, And also it's kind of ridiculous because we're super happy that the word's being spread. So we never say, oh, because some people are like, you should sue. And so I'm like, no, because the message is being put out there. So the more people that see it, the better. But the core beliefs, which were to make sure it's fair wear, living wage, it wasn't just the message that was on it, it was the donation, it was how the product was made, the material the product was made from, it was from the heart. So yeah, the message is great to be spread, but if it's just made in a mass-produced factory with people not on correct wages, then they kind of missing the whole point. If that makes sense. It's like, yeah, you're missing the whole thing, dude. So you can copy us, but or whatever. So it is hard to keep coming up with new ideas, as in I'm not a fashion designer. I just want to make it a product that everyone can wear and relate to. So that's why we do children, women, or it's unisex. So you can do everyone, but we want it to be, accessible to as many people as possible. And for a small company, I think we've managed to do that. So I don't think we ever feel successful. We just feel like we're still working on it and trying to improve what we've got. But yeah, we did a collaboration with Anti-Bullying Pro, and that's when you would have got your t-shirt. And that was a big deal for us. So seeing you in that t-shirt was a bigger deal than us making the t-shirt. Like, we were so grateful. Like you're at the time, you must have been how old? Like, I'm trying to think now, so 7 years ago.
10, I think.
Yeah, 10. And you were this guy and you were doing interviews and we were still too scared to speak on Instagram. I'm like, how is this kid doing so well? Like he's so articulate and he's brilliant. And that pushes us to keep pushing harder, because you just meet people that are just doing amazing things. And we really liked Anti-Bullying Pro because I think they hit the nail on the head, because there's some organizations, they're a bit dated, and Anti-Bullying Pro were just really current. I felt like they really reached a good audience, and they spoke a lot of sense. So that's why we decided to go with Anti-Bullying Pro. Yeah. And obviously there's your face is the face of it, so it's great, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think around that time, I think organizations like you really did help push Anti-Bullying Pro. And I know, like, you might say it was a big deal for you to to partner with them, but I'd say it's likewise the other way. It's because it doesn't really matter who we're going with, as long as it pushes the right message and it pushes the right the right feeling towards other people, to promote kindness and love and help people. I think it was good, both ways. And I think it was really the time when anti-bullying was needed most, I'd say, because people hadn't really be focusing on that. And I think it was such a big issue in schools because kids were being terribly bullied, people were going through such hardships, and I think it was a brilliant time. And
it breaks my heart to think how long, obviously I've got 2 children,
Mm.
I went to a nice little school, but you know, you still get no one's kind of can escape it. I think everyone, especially if the school doesn't support you well enough, I think you're susceptible to it. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things. School is a long time, you know, in a child's life, to be at school that many hours and to think that a child is having a tough time every single day. I just don't know how. It makes me, I just don't know how some kids go through what they go through. And so if we made one bully change his mind, that was what we wanted, you know. But likewise, hurt people. So you're trying to encourage it from the roots, and that's why I go through to adults, because so much mental health in adults is due to the way people are treated as children. So it's this kind of ongoing thing that is just a domino effect. So if we can plant the seed at a young age, I feel like it would just help adults as well. I don't know if that's why, you know, that's kindness is being seen, or we just want to see it more. But I do think people are being called out. If they're, sorry, I'm going to swear, if they're a dick, like people are more like, you're a dick, like, don't do that to that kid. I'd like to think that happens more, and that there's more support in schools. I mean, it is quite funny because when I signed my child up to his secondary school, the teacher was like, you know, there's a really good area for, like, if you want to go and sit. And I was just like, wow, that's amazing. They can do that. But I think she was quite nervous that I was going to pull them up on anything, but I wasn't. I was just like, anything's brilliant. And as long as they've got someone they can talk to, and as long as it's not just there to be seen, there's actually a welfare officer that wants to listen. I think it just gives, just imagine all those hours in school having a tough time. It just must be awful. So yeah, if we could stop one kid being a dick, then I'd be happy.
Yeah, because I think it really does help, you know, one person at a time. Because if you do too much at once, then it doesn't really change anything, and it sort of becomes meaningless as well. And you know, talking about like anti-bullying and everything, one person that really got me into, you know, the anti-bullying program or the charity that did was the Diana Award. And I think, you know, Diana was this amazing person, and you know, I heard that you also have been, you know, inspired by Diana in some sort of way as well. So I'd just like to ask you, you know, how did Princess Diana and her legacy really inspire you?
Well, I think coming from mother's point of view as well, it was just because I can remember, I think I was about 13, 14 when Diana passed, and it just was everywhere. And I remember thinking, wow, you know, this woman's amazing. She's left a hole in everyone's heart. But I think it was her ability to accept the world she was in. She could have been a very different person, you know, and she didn't just accept it for that. She wanted to make a difference. She wanted to give people a voice, and I think she gave them hope that they could have a voice. Also, she believed in the power of young people, which I think, I mean, going back years ago, it was always like children should be seen and not heard. And she gave young people a voice, and she wanted to give them, you know, the potential to fulfill lots of different areas of their life, not just kind of put them in boxes, which I think is amazing. So that's how we feel. You just have to support the young children and give them the encouragement they need to go on in their life. And that's huge for us, you know. A child who's got the confidence and the encouragement and the self-esteem goes a long way. And I think that's what she was all about, and giving people voices, no matter what your background. You know, she didn't need to, she chose to. So that was pretty special.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the time that she lived in as well, it was different to anything else. And I think, you know, she sort of like stemmed, you know, most of, like, you know, the good willing charities today, you know, to, you know, go in and fight against, you know, anti-bullying and all these different causes. And you know, she was, especially for AIDS as well, she revolutionized, you know, people's way of thinking about it. And I think she was such an important person, and she was very special as well. And I think the way her legacy is, you know, carried on, I think it's absolutely amazing. And you know, through people like you, and it's just great to see, you know, how, you know, we can all be changing the world for the better. And also, you know, she faced a lot of challenges in her life as well, and you know, we all do. So I would like to hear from you. Like, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've had to go through in your life?
I'm trying to think now, because if you asked me this when I was 12, I'd be like, it's this and it's this and it's this. Um, the biggest challenge. So I think it's really easy to get labeled into things. So business wise, the biggest challenge is adapting. You know, we had lockdown, that was really tough. Supply chains and prices went overhead. So we had to adapt sharply. And I don't come from a business background, Nick. So can you imagine? I was like, oh my goodness, we need to rein this in. So that was a big challenge there. For me personally, I'm quite dyslexic. Okay, so you can imagine me at school. I was told by my English teacher I wouldn't pass my GCSEs, blah, blah, blah. And that broke my heart. Anyway, I ended up getting a double A. So I did
Wow.
okay. But that was one of my biggest challenge is believing what people say and trying to get over that. So in my head, I'm thick, okay, because I'm dyslexic. So many things I want to say no to because already my inner voice is saying you can't do. So my biggest challenge is trying to find the confidence to get over that. I've modeled since the age of 13, but I fell into it. I was spotted. I grew up on a farm. I had no background of fashion, or I lived in jobbers. I had two older brothers and a sister. I was such a tomboy. So when I became a model, it was really bizarre. And everyone just thought I was pretty, so I'd do okay. And that was quite a challenge as well, even though it sounds not, because people just judge you for that. So I was dyslexic, but I was pretty. So I was pretty, pretty thick and trying to make people see me for more than that and believe that I was more than that was quite a big challenge. Even now, I'll be given something and I'll be like, oh, my automatic answer is no. And then I have to sit with it and just think how I can do it, how I can get around it. It was quite funny the other day on Instagram. I'd written something and the spelling was wrong, and someone messaged to say, you spelt that wrong. But I don't take that as an insult. I'm like, oh, thanks. Like, it read right to me, like these things are, so there's challenges, but it's how you take it, it's how you see it, it's how you deal with it. So never believe the label people want to give you. Always go and do it for yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's so amazing because I have dyspraxia, and like ever since I was young, so I was only diagnosed when I first went into secondary school. So like before that, I was clumsy. I was actually falling over all the time. I fractured my finger, and it's like, oh, it was so annoying and infuriating. But you just have to accept who you are, and you've got to be proud of who you are. And I think that's the number one thing. Before anything else, you've got to be happy, and you've got to love yourself as well. And I think because you can't change who you are, and I don't think you should change who you are. And so that's why I think you're just an amazing person, because like you've overcome so much, and you've sort of adapted your life to it as well. And same. It's like when people try and like help you. Well, in my case, I've people trying to help me, in school and everything. I can't understand it. Like first time, I have to be told a second time, and people get so annoyed with me as well.
And you find your way to learn, don't you? So I couldn't learn how everyone else could learn. I had to find my way, and it's a teacher, giving me that like extra time out of their own time, so showing me kindness, that taught me how to revise, because it just was not going in here. I'd walk out and I was like blank, and then he spent time with me. I was like, oh my God, that's all it took. And you're not thick, you just need another way to learn.
Exactly. And I think, that's why we rely so much on kindness, just to be, accepted by other people, and, to be shown that bit of extra effort. It really does make a massive difference.
And, it really does.
Sort of going on to our next question, we all like go through, big challenges in life, and, the world is suffering from a lot of problems right now. But I would like to hear it from you. What do you think a problem the world's facing now that you don't think has been given enough recognition?
It's always going to be the same answer. So I don't think mental health is given enough funding at all. I mean, it's in the tens of millions, and the actual bill should be in tens of billions, and the actual bill should be in the hundreds of billions. It's not recognised early enough. There's no talking therapy available. People
Yeah. Mm. I think,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but I just also think, I think everyone, there should be a class, a course, like do first aid in schools, mental health first aid, that kind of thing would be really good if you could bring something into schools that would help. So recognizing when you're feeling anxious, it's a natural body like can't speak. It's natural for your body to feel anxiety, to have that fight or flight and freeze syndrome, but it's how you deal with it. It's been told, it's not the end of the world, breathe. Just these techniques are so simple. If kids are just taught and to deal with it, it would help so many people. So I would like, I'd like a many more billions to be thrown into the NHS, which isn't possible, it seems, especially in this climate, but focus around mental health to young people. So like you're saying, if you're getting bullied, anti-bullying goes hand in hand, because if you're getting bullied, you're going to feel pretty shit, aren't you? So if someone was there to support your mental health as well, it might change
And especially
change how you see things.
after lockdown,
Yeah.
everyone's just got into that mode where like you just feel down and sad all the time. You don't even know why. It's just, I think the lack of like social interaction that we've been deprived of. It's not good for the human mind, because we're just so
100%.
exactly. And I think more now than ever, we really need to thinking about like
So
young.
if you look at figures now, Nick, that they're giving it now, that's not even incorporating the time that we've been in lockdown. So they're like beforehand. So the horrific figures we're seeing that are published are not even incorporating what lockdown's done. So I think there's going to be a massive it's going to be a big eye opener to just how affected everyone's been, and no matter what age. Like, how old are you? So you must have been doing options and stuff during lockdown, is that right? We're taking your options and you're in secondary school, you've lost 2 years of that. I know my son was just at the beginning of secondary school, he just started, he knew no one there, so trying to make friends is so bizarre. It's really tough to know what to do. And I've definitely noticed it in my own children. And we speak to so many parents, and they get funny habits because of germs and stuff. So hand washing's been really a big one, and just worried about illnesses, because it's natural. You just worry a lot more.
Yeah. And when I went from my primary school to secondary school, I didn't know anyone. Like, it was a totally fresh start. So I can only imagine what it's like now, with lockdown and all the restrictions put in school. I can't even imagine starting. But yeah, and thank you I'd like to thank you for coming on. But just because we're running out of time, and I wanted to get this one last question in. What quote would you say that you try and live by every day? Because obviously, you're an amazing woman, and you try your best every single day, and you're busy, and you've made this amazing clothing brand, and this space where people can sort of like be themselves. So I'd just like to know, was there like a quote that you live by, or a phrase, or just a way of living you try and live by?
So if I brought my kids in, they'd probably say a completely different one. They're like, Mum's always shouting, just scream. No, honestly, if I live by anything, it is just to be kind. And I know that sounds so cheesy because it's my brand, but it's really simple. It translates to everything. Everyone recognizes those. No matter what country you live in, people can read that and translate it. And it is everything you do. There's like always an option. There's always a path to go down. And I think if you just chose the kinder route, it's kinder on you, it's kind to other people. I think it just goes a long way. And then there's that whole thing, kindness comes back to you. So you just keep in this little bubble of kindness, and I quite like that bubble. I'm happy there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to say again, thank you so much. I know you're very busy, but it's been amazing, to speak to you. And yeah, I'd like to
So
say
Nick, I need to ask you a question. What are you up to now? You've got GCSE year this year.
Yeah, I know. It's year 11 now, final year of secondary school. But I think I'll be all right. I think, you know,
You're
I've
ready
gone.
for it, yeah?
Yeah, I think I am. Yeah, I think it's been a long time preparing, you know, but I can't say I'm going into this like stress free or not nervous, but I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm as ready.
Sometimes those nerves are good, you know. Sometimes just take them in and they'll be good for you.
Yeah,
They'll
sometimes
keep you going.
I like adrenaline can just like it can.
Yeah, turn it into excitement, not nerves. It's like those butterflies. Just think of it as excitement, not nerves. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Finally, you know, it's been, you know, you've been with me and my family for a long time now, and it's just,
Oh, I love seeing your messages pop up or something that you've done. I just think, God, this kid is so inspirational.
yeah,
Yeah, no, you've done really well. And
yeah,
you're fantastic at interviewing people. You don't gabble as much as me.
yeah. But yeah, thank you. And it's definitely keep in touch as well. And you know,
Yeah.
it's amazing to know you. So yeah, thank you.
I'll be sending you a new t-shirt for sure. Okay, Nick.
But yeah, 100%. Definitely be wearing it.
All right. Big love to your mum and thank you so much for letting me come on and speak today.
Yeah, you too. You know, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much. But
Okay.
have a great day.
See you later. See you later. Bye.
Bye.